Picture this. You just got the call. The promotion came through. The raise is official. You're finally crossing six figures. $100,000 a year. You've been working toward this for years. You go home, you tell your partner, maybe you pop a bottle of something nice, and for about 48 hours, you feel like you actually made it. And then, 3 months later, you're sitting at your kitchen table on a Tuesday night, staring at your bank account, and you're thinking, where did it go? The number on the paycheck changed. The number in your account somehow didn't. You're eating basically the same food, driving basically the same car, living basically the same life. And yet it still feels like you're two unexpected expenses away from a minor crisis. If that sounds familiar, I need you to stop right now and actually pay attention to this video. Because what I'm about to show you is not a budgeting problem. It's not a spending problem. It is a structural problem. One that was designed, almost by accident, to keep people exactly where they are, no matter how much they earn. And the kicker? Most people earning six figures have no idea it's happening to them. Let's get into it. Here's the thing most people don't understand about money. We are trained from birth to think in terms of income. How much do you make? That's the question, right? That's the status signal. That's the scoreboard. You tell someone you make 100 grand a year, and they nod with respect. What nobody asks, and what almost nobody is calculating, is how much of that 100 grand you actually keep. Because those are two very, very different numbers. Let's start with the most obvious theft. And yes, I'm going to call it theft. Not because the government is evil, but because most people don't actually feel it happening. Federal income tax on a $100,000 salary in the US? You're sitting somewhere in the 22 to 24% effective rate, depending on your deductions. Then you've got state income tax. And if you're in California, New York, or New Jersey, that alone could be another 6 to 10%. Social Security and Medicare pull another 7.65% off the top. Add those up. Before you've spent a single dollar, you've already lost roughly 30 to 35% of your paycheck. So that $100,000 salary, you're taking home somewhere between $65,000 and $70,000. Maybe a touch more if you're smart with pre-tax accounts. That's your real starting point, not 100 grand. 65. Keep that number in your head. Now here's where it gets interesting, because 65,000 sounds fine, right? That's still a solid income. That's more than the median US household was making just a decade ago. So what's the problem? The problem is something economists call lifestyle creep, and it is the most insidious, slow-moving financial disease in the modern world. It doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't feel like a mistake when it's happening. It feels like progress. Think about it. When you were making $50,000 a year, you drove a used car. You rented a modest apartment. You cooked most of your meals at home. And your idea of a treat was a nice dinner on a Friday night. Then you started earning more. And slowly, so slowly, you barely noticed. The standards shifted. The used car felt embarrassing, so you financed something newer. The apartment felt too small for your new tax bracket, so you upgraded. The cooking at home felt like a chore you'd earned the right to skip, so you started ordering out more. Each one of those decisions, individually, felt completely reasonable. Together, they are a financial wrecking ball. Here's a stat that should genuinely shake you. According to a survey by CNBC and Salary Finance, 36% of Americans earning between $100,000 and $200,000 per year are living paycheck to paycheck. 1 in 3 people earning six figures. Not because they're irresponsible, not because they're stupid, because the math of their lives expanded at almost exactly the same rate as their income. They earned more and they spent more. And the gap between the two, the gap where wealth actually gets built, stayed exactly the same. Or in some cases, got smaller. This is the trap. And most people walk directly into it with a smile on their face because it doesn't feel like a trap. It feels like reward. Okay, let me give you a metaphor that's going to stick with you. Think about a treadmill. Not the kind at the gym. Imagine a treadmill that speeds up every time you run faster. So you work harder, you get promoted. The treadmill speeds up. You run faster still. You get another raise. It speeds up again. You feel like you're moving. You're exhausted. You're sweating. You're working. But you are in the exact same place you were when you started. That's lifestyle creep. That's the $100,000 trap. You're running harder than ever and going absolutely nowhere. Now let me show you where the money actually goes, because I want to make this concrete. Let's walk through a real budget for someone earning $100,000 a year in a medium cost of living city. Not New York, not San Francisco. Let's say Nashville, or Austin, or Charlotte. Somewhere reasonable. After taxes, you're taking home around $68,000. Call it $5,600 a month, roughly. Housing. If you're following the standard advice of keeping rent or mortgage under 30% of gross income, that's $30,000 a year, $2,500 a month. But here's the thing. The standard advice is based on gross income, not take home. So the rent you can afford, according to conventional wisdom, is actually eating 45% of your real money. Let's say you're reasonable and you're spending $2,000 a month on housing. That's $24,000 a year. You've got $44,000 left. Transportation. The average American spends around $10,000 a year on their vehicle. Payment, insurance, gas, maintenance, registration. If you financed a $40,000 car because, hey, you earn six figures now, that number climbs to $12,000 or $13,000 easily. Let's call it $10,000. You've got $34,000 left. Food. The average American household spends around $8,000 to $9,000 a year on food, including groceries and dining out. But someone earning $100,000, statistically, spends closer to $11,000 or $12,000, the restaurant habit, the food delivery apps, the I deserve this dinners. Let's say $9,000, conservative. You've got $25,000 left. Healthcare, utilities, phone, internet, subscriptions. This bucket is sneaky because it's all monthly drips that feel small individually. Health insurance premium, even through an employer, can run $200 to $400 a month for an individual. Add utilities, your phone, your internet, your Netflix, Spotify, YouTube Premium, that gym you joined in January and stopped going to in March, Amazon Prime, Hulu. You're easily at $8,000 to $10,000 a year. Let's say $8,000. You've got $17,000 left. And we haven't talked about student loans. If you have them, and statistically, if you earn six figures, there's a solid chance you went to college, which means there's a solid chance you have them. The average monthly payment sits around $300 to $400. That's $4,000 to $5,000 a year. You've got $12,000 left. Now, here's where it gets dark. We haven't talked about going out. We haven't talked about vacations. And look, you earn $100,000. You're going on vacation. We haven't talked about clothing, gifts, personal care, entertainment, an occasional emergency, or literally any other cost of being a human adult with a social life. And we haven't talked about savings or investing at all. $12,000. In the best case scenario, with conservative spending in every category, you have $12,000 of breathing room. That's $1,000 a month. And for most people in this position, that $1,000 is getting absorbed by all the little things we didn't name yet until it's $200 or zero or negative. That's the math. That's why it feels like broke. But here's what I actually want you to understand, because the numbers alone aren't the full story. The numbers are the symptom. The real problem is psychological, and it is deeply, deeply human. There's a concept in behavioral economics called hedonic adaptation. It basically means that humans are terrible at staying satisfied. We get a raise, we feel great for a few weeks, and then the new income level becomes our new normal. The brain recalibrates, the happiness fades, and we start chasing the next thing to get that feeling back. It's not greed, it's biology. It's the same mechanism that makes your third bite of dessert less satisfying than the first. What this means in financial terms is terrifying. It means that income increases, on their own, do not produce wealth. They produce upgraded versions of the same problem. If your habits and your financial structure don't change, every raise you ever get will be consumed by your lifestyle within 6 to 12 months. You will always be running on that treadmill. You will always feel exactly as broke as you do today, no matter what the number on your paycheck says. The wealthy figured this out. And no, I don't mean they're all stoic monks who never enjoy anything. I mean they understood one foundational truth that changes everything. Wealth is not what you earn. Wealth is what you keep. And not just keep in a savings account that inflation quietly eats, but deploy into assets that make more money while you sleep. Warren Buffett has talked about this for decades. So has Robert Kiyosaki, even if you don't love everything he writes. So has every financial thinker worth paying attention to. The game is not about income. The game is about the gap between income and expenses, and what you do with that gap. So let me tell you what the actual solution looks like, because I'm not here just to stress you out. I want you to leave this video with something you can actually use. The first thing you have to do, and this is non-negotiable, is you have to pay yourself first, not at the end of the month with whatever's left. First, automatically. before the lifestyle has a chance to spend it. This is not a new concept, but most people still aren't doing it. Set up an automatic transfer on payday to your 401k, to your Roth IRA, to a brokerage account, somewhere that isn't your checking account, somewhere with friction between you and the money. Behavioral economists have proven over and over that if money hits your checking account, it will be spent. It is not a willpower issue. It is a design issue. Remove the choice. If you're earning $100,000 and you auto-invest 15% of your gross income, 15 grand a year, and you never touch it, here's what that looks like over 30 years at an average market return of 7%. Roughly $1.7 million from one decision, one automation. That's it. Not stock picking, not crypto, not trying to time the market. Just consistency, time, and a system that removes your worst instincts from the equation. Second thing, you have to redefine what upgrade means. This is harder, but it matters enormously. Most people, when they get a raise, upgrade their consumption. New car, nicer apartment, better restaurants. What wealthy people do is upgrade their assets. Same raise, different destination. Instead of a car payment, a rental property. Instead of a nicer apartment, an index fund. The raise still gets spent, just on something that makes you richer instead of something that makes you look richer. That distinction is everything. Third, look hard at the two biggest line items in your budget, housing and transportation. This isn't about being cheap. It's about being strategic. These two categories alone can make or break your financial life. A decision to buy 20% less house than the bank says you can afford, or to drive a 3-year-old car instead of a new one, could free up $300 to $500 a month. That's $4,000 to $6,000 a year. Compounded over 20 years, that's $250,000 from one choice about a car. And fourth, this one is underrated. Take a hard look at your subscriptions and your invisible spending. I'm not going to tell you to stop buying coffee. That's not the problem. The problem is the death by 1,000 cuts of recurring charges you've completely forgotten about. Most people, when they audit their subscriptions, find $200 to $300 a month in things they either forgot about or rarely use. That's $3,000 a year just gone, quietly, every month. Set a reminder to audit it twice a year and be brutal. Here's the bigger picture I want to leave you with, because this isn't just about budgeting. This is about identity. The reason the $100,000 trap is so hard to escape is that earning six figures comes with a social script. There's a version of yourself that you're supposed to perform at this income level. The car, the apartment, the vacations, the restaurants. It's not just spending, it's signaling. It's telling the world and yourself that you've arrived. And walking away from that script feels like admitting defeat. It feels like shrinking. Even when intellectually you know that the person driving the paid-off used car and living in the modest house is quietly building $1 million portfolio, emotionally, it still feels like losing. This is the trap within the trap. You're not just fighting lifestyle creep. You're fighting your own ego. You're fighting what other people think. You're fighting the version of success you were sold since childhood. And I'm not going to pretend that's easy. It's not. But here's what I want you to hold on to. Real financial freedom. The kind where you can walk away from a job you hate. The kind where a medical bill doesn't send you into a spiral. The kind where you can actually retire before you're 67 and exhausted. That freedom is invisible from the outside. You won't get applause for it. Your neighbors won't notice. Your coworkers won't comment. Nobody is going to see you max out your Roth IRA and hand you a trophy. But 10, 15, 20 years from now, when you have options that the people around you don't have, when a bad boss is just a bad boss and not a financial crisis, when you can say no to anything you want to say no to, that is what the money was for. Not the car, not the dinner, not the performance of success. The actual freedom. Now you know. So the question isn't whether you can escape the trap. You can. Thousands of people on ordinary incomes have built extraordinary financial security by simply understanding the game and playing it differently. The question is whether you're going to use this information or whether you're going to close this video. Keep the car payment, keep the upgraded apartment, and wonder in 5 years why nothing has changed. That decision is yours, and it starts today.